Welcome back to Drafting Out Loud. Today we'll be looking at the DraftKings market movers on the Leverage Lab. We're going to look at four players Touts are talking about. Let's get into it. First up, we have Terrence Ferguson. Terrence Ferguson was talked about by Davis Maddock on Best Ball Breakfast.
Terrence Ferguson is going to be the functional wide receiver 3 as confirmed, as reported by multiple boots on the ground guys in the Los Angeles organization. Jordan Rodriguez did a big report on him last year and how he was kind of in the back half of the season. Ferguson was kind of the key that unlocked the 13 personnel. Like if you look at the yards per route run stuff with Puka, T for Goff, it's a clear beneficiary. The work that our guy Coop has done on tight ends has found that tight ends with a high average depth of target, that tends to translate well year over year. That tends to be a positive prognosticator. And just looking at the way the Rams function, you either have to believe that Colby Parkinson or Terrence Ferguson is a giga mega smash, because this is a team that's going to have 550 dropbacks, 600 dropbacks potentially. I mean, maximum, you'd say.
Okay, there we go. That's Davis Maddock talking about Terrence Ferguson. And you saw where he took Terrence Ferguson there too. It's like the 180s or so. And I actually ended up taking him about that same spot the other day. And so that kind of tells me he's probably going to be rising up at least around here if other people feel the same way. Exciting player to have if he is going to be playing as essentially the third wide receiver. And you got to think that sometimes he'll play in line as a tight end. Other times he might play outside as that third wide receiver. Either way, he might be getting a lot of run as a pass catcher. And so a great pick there. And I think that maybe even bodes well for Parkinson as well. He's saying that one of them could be a Giga Smash. Well, they kind of traded off a little bit during the end of the season when they were both playing. And so why can't they both kind of do pretty well? But Ferguson is the one you got to be kind of excited about, I guess, if he is going to be playing that pass catching role. Next up, we got Jaden Blue, and this is by Best Ball Guy. And this was an interesting take right here. One that I think you need to think about a little bit.
Either Katron, Jaden Blue, or Damon Claiborne. You need a swing here.
I've been trying to take Jaden Blue every draft.
Yeah, Jaden Blue, do it. Absolutely. I've been trying to take him too. Let's do it.
Pat, you're not part of this conversation. I just conferred with Best Ball Guy. I know he's here to be with you, but we decided we're going to take Jaden Blue here.
Why are we taking an end of season running back when all of our running backs are end of season plays?
No. Javonte, worst receiving running back in the last 3 decades in efficiency last season. I think Jaden Blue.
So they probably played Jaden Blue then.
They did play him a little bit, but I think he'll play more this season. He's got his attitude right. Davis.
I like that they had to sit him down. We're like, don't be an asshole this time. And then they asked him about it. They asked Schottenheimer, and he's like, well, he hasn't been an asshole so far, but I would like him to not be an asshole for a little longer before we change what we're doing.
See, this is the thing, Pat. Aren't you worried about?
Okay, so that was an interesting take right there. There's been other studies that I've listened to. I think it was probably JJ Zacharyson that was talking about pass catching efficiency boding well for future years, and or pass catching inefficiency boding not well for future years. And so I'm not on Javonte Williams a whole lot. I'm drafting him if he falls, but I'm not really taking him at cost. Not really drafting Jaden Blue yet because, like they mentioned, he's got a lot of things going against him as well. But if he gets his head on straight and he gets in the good side with the coaches, he might be able to take on a larger role than people expect expect right now, because Javonte Williams just is not a good pass catching running back. I think he's a good pass blocker, but maybe Jaden Blue can take over some of that if he can show that not only can he hold up as a decent pass blocker maybe, but also be a pass catcher. And so that's why Jaden Blue might be someone you want to have on your radar. I think he is on mine now, and I'm kind of trying to debate, who do you want more, Marshawn Lloyd or Jaden Blue? And I don't know yet exactly which one you want. One more player, Rashid Shaheed on this side of the board as far as a riser goes. Rashid Shaheed's up 2 picks in the last 2 days. His whole rise has been over the last 7 days, you can tell, as well as Jaden Blue, who's been rising up over the over the past month, basically. Let's go look at Rashid Shaheed.
ESPN's Jeremy Fowler just a couple days ago saying that Shaheed had a major spring. He and Sam Darnold are hitting it off, which makes sense just based off how those two skill sets overlap. They're going to give him more short and intermediate stuff. He's going to be a big time player. I think that last part there, the short intermediate stuff, he hasn't done that a whole lot in the pros.
Yep.
Just watching him, and Josh, you probably agree with me, he's got that start stop ability where I do think in the right offense, if you do sprinkle in some of that stuff, I do think there's more value in that. So I'm hoping that we're not just going to have this, huge downfield role for him. I think that will pay off in best ball. But
Okay, so he makes a great point there, and one that I wasn't considering. If you watched Rashid Shaheed play last year on the Seahawks, almost all of his passes were these really deep down the field passes. He hit on some of them, and some of the others he didn't hit on, but that was his entire role. Now, if you listen to, and this was someone else that was talking earlier this year about deep ball receivers, your instinct is that if you're a deep ball receiver, you're going to have more spike weeks. But it turns out if you're just a deep ball receiver, you have lower floors and you actually have lower ceilings in general as well. So if you can open up the short and intermediate passes for Rashid Shaheed, that should increase his ability to score fantasy points. In addition, apparently the Seahawks, and I got to look into this too, the Seahawks are expected to be one of the highest scoring teams in the NFL again. And if that's the case, then you got to think someone that's being drafted this late is of some value. So Rashid Shaheed maybe should be on our lists a little more than he was before based on some of that. And it kind of if you want to compare to someone else, I'm not saying he's this player at all, but someone like George Pickens last year. George Pickens was a deep down the field pass catcher. He was doing pretty good. He was doing okay. But last year in Dallas, he was getting more short and intermediate passes, and that kind of brought him to the next level as far as fantasy points go. So do you expect him to get George Pickens level production? No. But do you expect him to maybe increase his floor and increase his ceiling? Maybe so. So he does become a kind of interesting pick. Last player we're going to look at here, and this one is a value on DraftKings, and that's Xavier Worthy. He's going around cheaper. In fact, I've been drafting a good amount of Patrick Mahomes and then letting Xavier Worthy fall all the way back around, and you're almost guaranteed that in a lot of cases. And if you miss Xavier Worthy, you can always grab Travis Kelce. Not saying that's the most exciting one, but you can get Travis Kelce instead. Now let's see what they have to say. I'm just looking to see if Travis Kelce is on here. He's not. Let's see what they had to say about Xavier Worthy.
A disaster. I'm not going to say that it wasn't a disaster. I think we can potentially contextualize this, and I'll go use Andy Reid here. Remember, he had the dislocated shoulder in week 1 because Travis Kelce ran right into him. Then he had 2 different ankle injuries, a week 5 one, and then another setback in week 13. And maybe he was just, training his ankles in that 6-inch blades of grass in that park with the holes in it. Maybe he's just trying to develop his ankles. But if he's healthier now, I think they're going to use him differently. And Andy Reid had a really interesting comment. He said, I would tell you that we kind of, after that, we're afraid to do certain things with Worthy. So I think him coming back healthy, I think that opens up the whole picture you saw during training camp, this last year's training camp, where he had a whole bunch of different routes. What I think that means is some more screens. His screen rate, he had 1.5 screens per game 2 seasons ago. That dropped to only a half screen this last game. His average depth of target was at 8.9 2 years ago. Last year was at 12.9, only a vertical roll in the offense.
Okay, we can see where this is going as well. Similar to Rashid Shaheed, we're expecting maybe for Xavier Worthy to get more short passes like screens, more intermediate passes as well, reducing his ADOT. Again, ideally by doing this, you're increasing their floor and increasing their ceiling. So Xavier Worthy is someone that you might be interested in taking as well. I think you want to almost maybe think about this in kind of where you get the values. Right now, on DraftKings, there's definitely value for Xavier Worthy. But let's say, for example, people get really pumped up about Xavier Worthy. Well, maybe that's when you transition to someone like Rashid Shaheed if he hasn't increased as much. That being said, right now you can see that it is Rashid Shaheed that is on the risers list. So, but just kind of be looking at those pockets and who makes the most sense and then transitioning from one player to another. For example, I'm thinking about that also when it comes to running back. Right now, I'm taking a lot of Jonathan Brooks, but I'm thinking that at some point in time, he might pass up Blake Corum. If that happens, then maybe I move on to drafting more Blake Corum and maybe a little bit less of Jonathan Brooks when it comes to the players. But there are 4 players Touts are talking about 3 risers, 1 value on DraftKings. Let me know what you think. See you on the next one. Peace.